Hi guys, Schwartz here. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to learn how to draw a mandala with tools. Today's tutorial will be divided into 6 steps. Before we can get started, we first need to cover the tools we're going to need to draw the mandala, followed by how to draw the grid, inking, erasing the grid, and finally details with shading and signing. The first thing you'll need to draw a mandala is a sketchbook or a piece of paper. Then you'll need a ruler, a protractor, a compass, a pencil, a fine line marker, and finally an eraser. Oh, and if you happen to have a large ruler, that will come in handy, but it's not entirely necessary. You'll see why in just a bit. Alright, we're ready for next step, drawing the grid. To get started, we first need to find the center of the paper. You can do this by measuring the middles of each sides, or if you have a large ruler, you can draw the diagonals. Their intersection will be the center. Just a quick heads up that for the rest of this step, I'll be using a push pencil instead of a pencil. This is so that you can see the lines of my grid more clearly, but I encourage you to stick to a light pencil when you draw your grid. This will make erasing easier afterwards. Now that we have the center, draw a line that goes through it. Then make a mark at every 1 centimeter interval on the line. You'll need at least 5 marks on each side of the center. Then take your compass and draw circles going through each mark like this. Now we need our protractor to make the sections of our grid. Make sure to properly align it and make marks at every 10 degrees interval along your protractor. And make sure to take your time at this step. This will drive how balanced your mandala is for the rest of the process. Now it's time to make the sections. To do this, simply draw a line that goes through the center and through each pair of opposing points. When you're done, it should look like this. In total, you should have 36 sections, each of them evenly spaced out. Alright, we've finally completed the grid. It's now time to start drawing the mandala. For this design, we'll start with the first row of petals, each petal with a width of at least 2 sections. But feel free to use your imagination here. For the second row, we'll make larger and slightly more square petals. For the next row, I've decided to add an extra circle. This will help me divide the petals in half and give them a pointy tip. While it's not entirely necessary to draw the mandala with a pencil first, I prefer doing it this way. This will reduce the chance of making a mistake during the inking process. Speaking of which, it is now time for the inking. Simply go over your lines with your marker. For the center circle, you can try going over it by hand like this. Or if you happen to have a pen compass around, you can also use one of those. Once we're done with the basic inking, we can now start filling in some patterns for our mandala. You may have noticed that I've doubled every line here. Doing this will help each petal of your mandala have a bit more breathing room and give your mandala a more wholesome look. I highly recommend you do it as well. You can do this with the same marker or find a marker if you happen to have one. At this point, you could already start erasing the grid, but I like to keep it around just a little bit longer to help me guide each pattern within each petal. This will help me make sure they're very symmetrical, but it's up to you really. For the center, we're just gonna go for very basic reflections and fill the rest in black. Once your fill-ins are finished, the inking step is now done. You can now proceed to erasing the grid. Here you should make sure to only erase what is outside of your mandala. Going over the mandala directly might make some of the ink fade away. If you have to, you can, but then you should go back over your lines to fill them back again. For the details, we're gonna wrap it up with tiny lines in each leaf pattern. You can use the same pencil to add some shading to the inner ring of your mandala. Feel free to add more shading to the other rings of your mandala if you want to give it more depth. After you're satisfied with your details and shading, the final step is to sign your work of art. Take a moment to appreciate your piece and be grateful to yourself for all the hard work you've done. Thank you for coming along this journey with me. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.